What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie298 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. This is my weekly gaming news wrap-up, so we got a lot of stuff to cover this week, so let's get right into the games. So you may or may not have seen this screenshot, but it looks like the folks over at Walmart Canada accidentally spoiled a lot of the games that are going to be announced at E3. Some of these are pretty obvious, like WWE 2019 or, stuff like that. There's some real surprises in here too. Now, on this list was a Splinter Cell game, which seems reasonable. Just Cause 4, which seems like it's possible, but the last Just Cause did not do that well. It sold about 2 million copies, which is a lot less than the 6 million copies Just Cause 2 sold. Dragon Quest 2, which is a bit of an anomaly because why would that exist? I think, aren't they on like Dragon Quest 10 or 9 right now? So unless that's like a port, but who knows. Borderlands 3, now the folks over at Gearbox has actually said Borderlands 3 will not be at E3, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't come out sometime soon, and we do know the Gearbox is working on it. Something called Assassin's Creed, which could just be a placeholder for another Assassin's Creed game, but they're trying to space out the Assassin's Creed games these days, so that seems fairly unlikely. Rage 2, which was actually confirmed by Bethesda to be available at E3, and you can actually see that trailer now. Forza's Horizon 5, which is not possible because there's actually no Forza Horizon 4, so that could just be a typo. And then Gears of War 5, which might be a little early for Gears of War 5, but it's definitely one of the flagship properties that Microsoft has, so it makes sense that they're going to talk about that at E3, even if it doesn't come out till 2019. So based on that misinformation that's in there, and the typos and the other weird anomalies that were in this Walmart.ca leak, I'm not entirely sure that this is accurate. I would say we have to wait for the companies who have announcements at E3 to announce them at E3, but folks like Bethesda reacted to this knowing that their game was going to get leaked. They took control of the message and went ahead and launched their trailer a little bit earlier. I'm glad they did. I hope that's what all of these companies do. I hope Gearbox is lying because I really, really want Borderlands 3. I need that game like now. I needed that last year. But let's talk a little bit about Rage 2 for a second, because out of all the games that are on that list, that seems to be one of the most surprising, and it's actually officially been confirmed with the trailer and so on and so forth. The original Rage, developed by id Software, was a buggy mess when it originally launched, having all kinds of graphical issues and having trouble running on PC. And if you look at the critic scores, I think the critic scores are about a 79 or an 80 for like the PC version. The user scores all across the board for this game are like 5.0, 5.2 because of the issues it had at launch. And this wasn't the usual, Bethesda published games bugs. I mean, there were some real game-breaking issues there. So I'm not really sure that the original Rage warranted a sequel, but this sequel looks amazing. Number one, id is working with the folks over at Avalanche Studios, the people who make Just Cause 2. So, I mean, we're talking some real promise here, and they are promising like an open world style game here with some really, it looks like post-apocalyptic Mad Max inspired content. I think this game's going to be really fun. But Bethesda said, it takes 2 AAA studios to make this game, so this is a, quote, effing AAAAAA sextuple A game. I love that. I love to see 2 companies that make really, really good games matched up together to make a really, really good game. Let's just hope it's as good as it promises to be. We won't know until spring of 2019 is what they're currently saying, though, but I can wait. Now, this week's video is proudly sponsored by the folks over at NordVPN. Now, this summer, if you're doing a lot of traveling like I am, and you're staying in hotels and you're using the Wi-Fi in restaurants, keeping your data safe is more important than ever, and that's why I keep Nord installed and running on my phone 24 hours a day. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a VPN does, it's a virtual private network, and the entire goal there is to use the software and the online pathways to keep your data safe, your surfing habits safe and hidden from anybody who'd want to know. Whenever you're transmitting really important data like your banking information, your passwords, your financial information, Nord guarantees to keep that stuff safe by encrypting all of that data. So even if somebody is sniffing those packets, there's no way they can find the data within. Whenever you're playing online video games or connecting to a service online, Nord allows you to hide your IP so no one can DDoS you. Using NordVPN actually hides your digital footprints too, so nobody's able to even see what servers you're connecting to. All they know is you're connecting to that NordVPN server, and they're allowing you to connect to anything else. So if you're looking to protect your banking information, your passwords, your surfing habits, the files you share, or the IP address that you're coming from, NordVPN will allow you to do that for a very cheap price. All you gotta do is go to nordvpn.com/BOOGIE. You can sign up for the 3-year plan and save 77%. If you do, you'll be supporting me at the same time, and you'll be keeping your data safe. Now, Nintendo's had what could be a major leak if this turns out to be true. There are these documents documenting everything that's going to be shown at their Treehouse for E3 that's been leaked. and that's a whole month ahead of time. So could be fairly damaging to the hype, or it could stir up hype as we talk about it here. So let's look at what's on the list. If this is supposed to be accurate, we're looking at a Smash Brothers for the Switch trailer and software demo. You've got a Punch-Out Become the Champion software demo. You got Metroid Prime Renegade, Splatoon 2, the Octo expansion, Fire Emblem Memories, Fallout 3 Anniversary Edition, Yoshi's Flipping Island. Now that's got me intrigued. Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go. That's going to be a trailer. F-Zero SX, a version of Fortnite ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and Star Fox Lylat System, which will be gameplay footage. Now, a piece of paper like that can be mocked up by anybody and printed out by anybody and photographed by anybody. So you got to take all of that with a grain of salt. But when you look at these trademarks that Nintendo has actually filed in the last few days, including Star Fox and Pikmin and F-Zero and Yoshi's Island, it definitely looks like this might very well be substantiated, but we'll have to wait to E3 and see the Treehouse to be sure. And I think when it comes to all of these games on this list, I'm pretty excited about most of the first-party titles, but the Fortnite port is really, really interesting because, as we said in a previous episode, Nintendo really has to worry about whether or not they're going to have an online game that will really sell their online services at $20 a year. Fortnite would definitely do it. I can see a lot of people wanting to play Fortnite handheld on the go. Now, for those of you who don't know, by the way, I will not be doing my usual E3 coverage this year because I'm actually going to E3, and it's my understanding that it's very difficult to do everything and then film and then also upload it. So a lot of that footage won't get uploaded until I get back. So for those of you who are interested in watching the live conferences, Saturday, June the 9th at 11 a.m. is going to be Electronic Arts. That's Pacific Standard Time, so use Google to figure out exactly what time that is for you. Sunday, June the 10th is going to be the live stream for Microsoft and Bethesda, 1 p.m. for Microsoft, 6:30 for Bethesda. Monday, June 11th, 10 a.m. is going to be Square Enix, 1 p.m. will be Ubisoft, Sony at 6 p.m. that night, and then finally Tuesday, June the 12th will be Nintendo at 9 a.m. And of course, you'll be able to see plenty of breakdown and coverages of that stuff if you can't see the live stream, including when I get back from E3. Now, for those of you who are expecting big news about the PlayStation 5, it looks like that is absolutely not going to get announced at this year's E3, so we're not going to get any information about it, though it could still come in 2019 or early 2020. They're just not ready to talk about it. And it looks like they said in a podcast over at PlayStation that their focus for E3 this year is going to be showing their first-party games, including Death Stranding, the Marvel Spider-Man game, Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. Last of Us Part 2 being the centerpiece of it. And they said there will still be plenty of stuff for third-party, maybe some new game announcements and stuff along that lines to keep people guessing. But they even said that there might be a change in format and the way that they present this year. So I'm really interested in seeing that. I think I'm going to get lucky and get to see that live. But I really feel like this is a good strategy because announcing a new console this early could definitely end up damaging the life cycle of this current console, and this console is currently still winning. So at the end of the day, they have no real incentive to introduce new hardware, especially if they have these 4 solid games to still talk about. And then I did want to note this in this week's video, even though it doesn't really fit the E3 thing. But if you guys aren't familiar with Bleszinski Productions, that's the company that was started a few years back by Cliff Bleszinski, the guy who made Gears of War. It was his venture out to make awesome games. And they made a couple of games, 2 games I'm sure you've heard of, Lawbreakers and Radical Heights. Lawbreakers just did not catch on, even though I played it in the early beta and really enjoyed it. It just was overshadowed by the other games in the genre. And then Radical Heights, when it launched, I think we all said, this seems like an era of desperation here. It looks like they're just trying to get it out as early as they can to save the company. And it looks like that might very well have been the case. They might have been out of funding and they released it in super early access just to show people what they were working on, the hopes that maybe they could get gamers invested, they could get angel investors, get the hype built. Who knew? But it looks like that's the case because Bleszinski Productions is no more. And Cliff has said on his Twitter feed that he is moving on to focus on the family for a while. I'm sure he'll come back. And Cliff, when you do come back, we will be here to hopefully take a look at and hopefully support this time whatever you work on, because the last 2 games were pretty interesting. Kind of sad to see that about Radical Heights because I think it was very, very promising. I felt like it could have been the next big Battle Royale game, specifically because of the aesthetics and everything else. Just too little too soon. What can you do? And that's pretty much all the E3 rumors I have right now. There's plenty of stuff coming out, so be sure to check back between now and E3. And don't forget to check back after E3, so hopefully I'll have some gameplay footage for you, some footage from the show floor, and so on and so forth. And as usual, guys, thanks to my sponsor for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to support me, check that link in the description box below. I do recommend NordVPN. I use it every day, and I hope they can keep you as safe as they are keeping me. Until then, guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon.